Hey, we're back. Welcome to Drummer Nation Live on Wednesday, May 13th already. So I hope you're faring well with this COVID thing. We're all hunkered down. Along those lines, a dog limps into a bar wearing a cowboy hat and says, "I'm looking for the fella that shot my paw." And there he is. All right. A little levity to begin with. Time for Drummer Nation Live. I got a great show today. Andy Zildjian, the CEO of Sabian, is with me. Something I recorded the other day, but he's going to tell us about how they're coping with COVID at Sabian. And we're going to get started right after this. Stay with us. It's time for Drummer Nation. Here's your chance to win some bronze from Istanbul Mehmet, the original handmade cymbals from Turkey. The prize includes 3 shiny black bell cymbals, a giant ride, a powerful crash, and oversized hi-hats. The black bell line features 2 sonic personalities in one cymbal. It's a punchy pairing. Check the link in the show notes for your chance to win.
Hello everyone, my name is David Victor. I'm General Manager with the Craviato Drum Company. We wanted to offer a one-ply, solid shell product, but we wanted it to stay true to our mission of offering handmade drums of uncompromised quality built here in the USA. So take a listen to our Center Stage Series drum set.
Memphis Drum Shop is the world's premier provider of percussion instruments. With 6 showrooms of gear, mycymbal.com, the Memphis Gong Chamber, and a first-rate repair department, turn to Memphis Drum Shop for all your percussion needs. All right, thank you to our sponsors, and I hope you pay attention to them. Istanbul Mehmet's got a cymbal giveaway you might want to look into. The link is on the page you just saw, and I'll try to put it in the show notes as well. Okay, here we are coming up to the middle of May. Most of us have been sheltered in place for 8 weeks now, something like that. And a lot of us drummers are finding cool things to do, right? I suggest you heed the warnings and stay where you are and wait till this thing blows over, which it eventually will. But drummers being drummers, a lot of them are out there sharing information. They're podcasting, they're live streaming. In fact, after this one is over, I'll be done, I don't know, usually a half an hour or so. Jump on over to John DeChristopher's page at 2 o'clock Eastern. He's going to have Peter Erskine on. These guys are giving back now that they're home too and everybody has time. And same thing, Stanton Moore, 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 Central, his time in New Orleans. Free masterclass on his page. And, you know, they're not the only ones doing it. If you look around, everybody's live casting and live streaming and putting up shows, and I think that's a great idea. However, a lot of us who have been doing this a while are getting questions from our friends and acquaintances and drummers, and every day somebody calls me and says, "Hey, man, how do you do this? Hook a brother up." So my suggestion to most people is to realize that there is something called pod fade. Something like 80% of the podcasts out there haven't had a new issue in 3 months, and like 70% haven't had a new edition in a year. So before you spend a nickel, I recommend use what you have, man. If you have a cell phone, if you have your anything with a phone and a camera and a mic in it is ready to roll for posting on Facebook Live or YouTube or streaming or whatever you want. Before you spend a couple of $1,000 on some cool gear, and there's plenty of it, and once you get in it, if you dig it, you never get enough of it. But before you do that, man, start with what you have. You don't need great microphones, and you don't need vocal processing with compression and de-essing and noise gates, and you don't need that. You don't need to edit in a video editing software suite like Final Cut Pro or even, start with that. I told a friend the other day, I said, "Hey, man, he had a cell phone, had a Mac, and a Zoom device, one of the little Zoom recorders, like $100. And I said, here's what you do. Do a 1-minute video of you talking to your cell phone with the good side of the camera and record it on your Zoom device. Drop it into iMovie, free, and see how you like it. Edit it. Get the sync up to sync up the video with the audio. Try to get your colors right and your screen looking cool, and then edit it to where you want it. Don't worry about bumper music and graphics and all that stuff, and post it to Facebook or YouTube or wherever you want to do it. Not even live. Just try that. Or actually, live is even easier. And see if you dig it, because you might find out you don't. And I just saved you a lot of money. If you want to just go on live on Facebook, just tell people you're going to be on live, put your phone in front of you, turn the damn thing on and start talking. And see if you can find what's comfortable for you. So before you jump in, guns a-blazing, try that. Okay? 8-week carpal tunnel update. See my little scars there? Not having any issues, thank God. A little sore through the part here, because they went under it and we're digging out stuff. But I still play drums every day, going little by little. And this has been a good time for something like this, actually, because of ain't nothing else going on, right? Okay. One of the things I've been doing that everybody's been doing is binge watching. So I was able to get this Ken Burns Country Music 8-disc documentary series, and he's done great ones. I like the one on jazz. I used it to teach out of a little bit. And, somebody's going to dislike something about all of them, but this is liable to ruffle a few feathers. But what I'm going to say to you is that it became clear to me that you can tell the entire history of country music. Let me back up and say, if you're looking at any genre, if you're covering a genre of music and you want to look at its history, you're going to look for the geniuses. You're going to look for the people who left a lasting mark in the music that made it so people who came after them really had to pay some attention and homage to that, or they were outside of the mainstream or not sufficiently in the style. So let's look at that in country music. And what I can say after watching all 8 of these is that I think it's possible to tell the entire history of country music, covering all of its major innovators, and never once mention a drummer. In fact, that's what that show did. They never mentioned a drummer, and I don't know. I mean, I love country music. I played a lot of country music. I know there are great drummers playing country music. When I lived in L.A. in the 80s, I did a long-standing, steady, down in a blue-collar neighborhood by the airport with a guy who was on Elvis's band. And all the players were great, and the stuff was spot on. So I'm not immune to the music, man. I dig it. I think Hank Williams was a genius. But not only can you tell the whole history of country music without mentioning a drummer, you can tell the whole history of the drum set without mentioning country music. So that's going to get some ire. The comments are on. If somebody wants to shoot me a nasty message, please don't. Adam Stubel. Hey, Andy, love Sabian cymbals. He'll be here in just a minute. Great advice, Voz. Thank you, Janelle. She sent me a lovely DVD on the Udu drum, which had me playing Udu all day. Sore hands notwithstanding. So thank you for that, Janelle. And you got to do my show. Adam Stubel. Hey, Michael. Hi, guys. So if anybody wants to take me to task on the country music thing, it's sort of half in jest. It doesn't really matter, and I do love the music. But you got to admit, going way back, it took them 50 years to even use drums, and there are plenty of people who still haven't forgiven Chet Atkins for, pop records he did with Eddie Arnold and stuff like that, and the bro country stuff they don't like. And, later on, of course, it was country pop, country rock, and there are plenty of drums, and plenty of great drummers doing it. Okay, moving right along. Did I mention I have a guest? Andy Zildjian. I wanted to talk to Andy. One of the cool things about my stint in the industry with the cymbal companies, I got to know a lot of great industry people, and they have something to say about this too. So we all know what it's like for drummers and musicians right now, but let's hear from Andy Zildjian. He was kind enough to record something with me a few days ago, and I'm going to play it right now. Another piece of advice is to Back off at first on trying to do live video guests. Remote location, live video guest, or an invitation to trouble. How many of those have we seen where can you hear me? Do you see me? Whoops, you disappeared. It froze up. It dropped us. I don't like that. Janelle, hey, you can tell the whole of Americans' history through that country music documentary. Drummers are important, but not the key figures, as you said. Absolutely. Absolutely. Not meaning to disparage country music, and it does reflect America. Speaking of which, the new Americana stuff, which is really starting to happen in Nashville. There are thousands of kids moving there to try to do this Americana thing, and great intentions, but again, almost no drummers. This is what I call the capo and cajon crowd, and it's great. It's just not interesting to me, man. You see, when I play, I'm a drummer, and I don't really care about a cajon. It's a box, and that's just my opinion. All right. Now back to Andy. Andy is the CEO of Sabian Cymbals. So I'm reading and talking at the same time, and I'm not that talented. Sabian Cymbals, and bought my company Crescent, and we're still friends, of course. And he was gracious enough to do this for me. But the video screwed up. That's what I was trying to say. I tried to do this with a live thing, and it didn't work. So I just grabbed the audio, and I'll put a picture of him up and us talking. And check out what Andy has to say. I think you'll like it. As promised, my guest is no other than Andy Zildjian, the CEO at Sabian Cymbals. How are you, buddy?
Actually doing great. I mean, this whole thing is quite a mess, but at the same time, for us, I'm looking at it as an opportunity to fix all the little things that were bothering me over the years.
I can't imagine what you're up against. All the musicians are up against no gigs, no work. We're all stuck at home. You have to do that too, but you also have to answer for a company that grosses tens of millions of dollars every year. And I don't know how you're doing it. What's the state of affairs at Sabian now?
Well, how am I doing it? In good cheer. How's that?
Well, that's a good start.
Yeah. What's the state of affairs? Well, right now we're down to about, depending on the day, anywhere from 7 to 10 people in the on the shop floor.
So you're open. That's the first thing I was looking for.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Canada was ahead of the curve, and they did a lot to help our employees. So what they said was that we should, instead of furlough everybody, lay them off. That way Canada can take care of them. And they did, and they've been doing a good job. And what we've been doing is, because we are allowed to stay open, is that we've been servicing orders out of inventory, and because of things like the complex, which are brand new, we're still making those at the factory. And that's what we've done. We've taken the people who are really the best of the best at the factory, and we've kept them on, and they're doing a fantastic job. It's one of those things where, as I walk through and I see all these guys out there, they're doing their job, they're hammering, they're lathing, they're doing different things.
Excuse me, are you hearing me? Can somebody say, give me a comment if you're hearing Andy? Thank you.
Really care. They're putting that effort in, and they're doing it for, because they want to, because they really respect what they do and the needs of the players, and it gets me every time I walk through the factory.
I understand. As messed up as the things were working out of Istanbul, whenever I'd go into that hammering room, and they're all sitting around doing this, my heart was in my throat a little bit.
Yeah, I agree.
It's no simple thing to make a cymbal, and it's a lot of hard work, and a lot of people are really dedicated to it. So you're still manufacturing. How's the rest of? I mean, you have to order product like metals by the ton.
Well, here's the thing. One of those little things that had been bothering me for a long time was that we kept making new castings so that we could have exactly the right weight, so that when they went through the rolling mills, it was always the same formula as far as that was concerned. And it always bothered me, because you can't pour a precise measurement on a casting. It's always going to be just a little bit different. And so why would we have to have an exact weight when we could use a half a pound more, even a pound more? We're always pouring for an exact weight, and you can't quite do that. And so what we're doing is we're finding out the correct measurements, the correct formulas for using castings that are not the exact weight. They can be heavier. And in doing that, we don't need to be ordering new raw materials, because we've got tons of it right now. And it seems to be working out really well. That was one of those problems that now is being fixed.
Well, nothing gets wasted. I know.
Right.
You know, if it's a little heavy and you trim it off, it gets melted down, and it's the same stuff. So you
Yep.
use it over again. Now, you also had a recycle program going on. Is that still happening?
We've been doing that for forever because we're using the same metal. Even when we're making B8s, we can even recycle that. That's not a problem because it's still a bronze. We just have to add a little more tin when we're doing the melt. And that's a simple measurement formula as well. The only thing we can't recycle is brass, and we make some of that for the lowest end cymbals. And what we do with that is we send that off to a recycling company, and they take care of it.
So nothing goes to waste. Even in
Nope.
even in Istanbul, they don't waste anything like that.
Right.
Okay, so you've got a smaller staff, better
Yep.
use of inventory, tighter purchasing controls, I presume.
Immediately. Yes.
And then how about the sales arm and marketing? That still has to keep going.
Sales group is still there, and what they're doing is they're contacting everybody to make sure that everything's good and just keeping up those relationships that we built over years because these are people that we care about. And so we want to know, first of all, how everybody's doing and if there's anything that we can do to help. And then some people are saying, no, we're going to close up for a while, and we get that. But we're still keeping in contact with them just to find out how they're doing. But there are other places, other stores in the United States and distributors across the world who are saying, yeah, we still have demand. Let's send us some stuff. And we've been doing that. I mean, what was interesting is as this whole thing was closing down here in North America, it was starting to open up a little bit in Asia. Mm-hmm. And so we've been seeing that sort of movement through the world as they closed and we were still open, and now they're opening and we've been closed. So it's being global. It helps not only to know what's going to happen, but to keep everything just sort of moving.
Mm-hmm. Now you happen to be in a beautiful bucolic area there on the river, and it's not a very crowded place in the first place. It's very rural and wonderful. But I mean, are you having much problem with COVID-19 up there?
So New Brunswick has been COVID-free for 19 days.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep. And I think the highest active count there was 42, and the total is around 77.
But there's only 100 people who live there.
You know, it's one of the few times I was up in New Brunswick and thought, boy, it's nice to have nobody around.
I love it up there, man. It's really just beautiful. Just beautiful.
Well, I'll tell you, my wife and I have been looking at different places up there for a little while, and now it's becoming much more feasible.
Well, you've been living in Boston and commuting all the time, right?
Right. Yep. 6 hours to get up in the usually on a Sunday afternoon and then come home on a Thursday night.
I know we've had many chats on your way, one way or another.
Right.
So what are the dealers telling you in America? Are they optimistic? Are they freaking out? I mean, a lot of these dealers were hanging on for dear life anyway.
You know, it's a hard one to say because there are those that are already really working on the web, and they seem to be doing the best. Mm-hmm. There are others who are doing, what do we call that, curbside.
Right.
Curbside sales and delivery. And for some of them, they're doing well, and for others, it's just not enough to keep them going. Everyone's an individual. So I'd love to say that across the board, everybody's doing great, but
it's never the case. It's got to be interesting to you because I know back when I was first getting rolling with Bosphorus, we had nothing but heat from dealers who didn't want products sold online, right?
Back in the day, yeah.
Yeah.
They hated it.
They hated it. And we kept saying, we being the industry, put that hat on. And look, it's not up to me. It's not up to you. It's up to the customers. And they're deciding that's how they're going to buy. And woe to anybody who doesn't listen. But it's turned out with a pandemic that maybe it was even a better choice than we thought.
Mm. Yep. Well, the retailers who are well known for being online so far are doing quite well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So you have to keep the marketing end of things up as well, right?
Well,
I just saw you doing an
yes.
interview somewhere else, and now you're doing this one with me. But there's also, you guys are doing a lot more online yourselves, aren't you?
Well, yes, and actually, that was when we first made the change in our marketing back in the beginning of 2019. This was where I wanted it to go. It was moving in that direction, but it sort of stuttered and stalled a little bit, and I was not happy with that. I wanted to have much more of a real connection between us and players because we're players too. We love the attitude, the pleasure of playing, and we like to share that. And we also want to hear directly from players what's going on, what's up, what's the sounds we're all looking for. Are you getting what you're looking for? Do you have the right voice for what you're playing? And with what is going on right now, with the live discussions that we have going on, the interactive stuff on the web, it's absolutely fitting that bill. And we're really moving in that right direction. So I don't see us coming back from what we're doing ever.
I agree. You and I talked about this as always in its infancy. Like, this is the way it's going, and you better get on, you being the industry. Now, the SEN thing is really killer. I try to watch all those I can. Joe Bergamini.
Well, I'm sorry, I missed your first.
Yeah, sometimes it cuts out. The SEN program, Sabian Education Network with Joe Bergamini,
Yep.
is wonderful. You've been doing a lot of not only showing people how it's done, but giving them a lot of information. You had Dom and several other guys on with him, showing people, hey, man, it's going to be Skype, it's going to be online, and here's how you do it, because everybody's jumping in.
That was the whole point of the SEN, was to be able to help educators become more aware of other pedagogy and other platforms, other ways to present themselves professionally, so that they have a broader reach, and so that it's a better experience for the students. Mm-hmm. When we first talked about this, what blew my mind was that only 30% of the people who started playing drums stayed with it. How could that be? This is drumming. How can you not fall in love with it the first time you hit something? Oh my God, the feeling you get. And 70% of the people were going away. So we really needed to figure out a way to make sure that teacher-student connection was as strong as it could be. And this, the situation nowadays, putting things online, well, we have experts at that, so absolutely help out and try to help people understand the best ways of doing that.
I'd like to see us as an industry find a way to retain girls a little better. I don't mean, I mean, there are girls meaning children, female children. I'm not disparaging women.
I know what you mean.
You got to be careful these days. Who are you calling girl? No, I meant when I was teaching, I had
female drummers.
Yeah, but young ones. When I was teaching, I'd have maybe 30-40% of my kids were girls, and you don't see them in the pro ranks. You don't see them moving through as much, and somewhere we're losing them in there, I think.
Actually, that's disappointing to me too, because there's no reason why a woman, can't be as good a drummer as a guy. I mean, it's not like they're throwing a different length of their forearm. Yeah. I understand the physics of baseball. And
they don't have a different tee like in golf.
It has nothing to do with it. And so, if we can celebrate women playing drums, absolutely. And one thing that I've been adamant about all the time is I hate it when people say somebody's a great drummer they're a good drummer, period. And there are a lot of really good female drummers. Mm-hmm. So there's no need to define them otherwise.
Exactly. It's a very equalizing thing, This is totally unrelated, but I've been watching this Ken Burns thing on country music. Oh. He's, multi-mega documentary thing. And it occurred to me that in the early years, those guys didn't like drums, man. They just didn't like drums.
No. Well, they probably still don't.
Many of them don't. Well, for a while I was involved with a company that was working with a lot of these young artists moving to Nashville. I don't know what's going to happen to them now, but by the thousands they were moving to do this Americana thing. And it was what I call the capo and cajon crowd.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
They don't like drums.
Mm-hmm. Well, do you know the story, the Larry London story, when he first moved down from Detroit to Nashville?
No, tell me.
So he was doing a session. I can't remember with whom he was playing, but as he was playing along, he's riding on the cymbal, and he goes, that coming over the microphone, drummer, number on.
Drummer.
And he's thinking, number on. Don't know what that means, but
what did he say? Say it again.
Number on.
Okay.
That's why he didn't understand what was going on. So he played it a little bit again and goes, drummer. I said, number on. He's going, number on. I couldn't figure it out. So he's playing on again. And he's drummer, you hear me? I said, no more on. And he said, I'm from Detroit. What are you saying? He said, drummer, stop hitting the iron piece over on your right. And he said, oh, my ride cymbal? Yeah, that piece of iron.
Iron?
Yes.
Well, if it was iron, you really would want him to stop hitting it.
Larry used to laugh about that a lot.
I heard him tell some jokes about, you're in a studio and you have to answer to everybody and their brother, right? So somebody's girlfriend is saying, can you make it a little more alligatory?
I had a guy say, you know what? If that cymbal were a little more oaky, that would be exactly what I'm looking for.
Hamilton's story, he's in the studio. He wouldn't mind me telling this. He's in the studio with Natalie Cole.
Yeah.
And it's for the second album, after they did the one with Nat and won a Grammy and all that. And Jeff, what about that cymbal? I don't like that cymbal. What can you do about that cymbal? And he said, well, this cymbal was good enough to get a Grammy for the first album. It'll be just fine for this one.
Oh, man, that's a great line.
That's Hammer, man.
Oh,
you might as well ask him to come take his bass drum head off. It ain't going to happen, man.
And I love that he came up with that line right away.
Yeah. There are, this happens a lot with cymbals, right? People love them or they don't like them. Everybody has their own choices. So there's one set of ideas, which is, hey, I'm a drummer. You hired me. I'll pick my cymbals. Stay out of it. The other one is sort of like, don't worry, man. We'll get this right if it takes every nickel you've got. Yeah. I've got 40 of them here. Take your time, baby.
Oh, that's a good line, too.
Well, what else you want to talk about? This isn't a long show. We've covered most of it. You're very positive. I'm looking at and hearing from you. You always are. And things are under control at Sabian. The world's not ending. We're going to get through this one way or another.
Yeah.
And it's a very egalitarian problem, right? Doesn't matter how much money you got or where you came from or who your daddy is or what your background is. It's a bad thing.
It's a pandemic.
It's just you're in an ordinary pandemic. Anyway, I'm glad we can still laugh and have fun. You know what I do? A lot of drummers are doing, and they're creative people, right? So they're calling their friends all the time and keeping that network up. But they're practicing, they're listening, they're working on new stuff. So when it all lifts up, there should be some great music out there.
Actually, yes. A lot of people that I know are doing a lot of woodshedding, of course, but they're also writing and creating music, which is, that's what you're saying. And I'm looking forward to it. This would be fantastic. It's going to be really different in that we probably won't have tours for the summer.
Right.
And so that's a real problem for many players. But their creative side is being unleashed right now. I'm looking forward to that. And I hope that it's the kind of thing where they can actually, not to sound cruel or crude, but they can monetize it because they're missing out on so much this summer that they need to have some kind of income.
Mm-hmm. Well, they're not alone. A lot of people are out of work, and all we can do is focus on the positive, which you always do. And I appreciate that.
Well, if you think about it, the world's been through a lot worse in the past. We're still here. Yeah, it's just a matter of persevering.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, Andy. Anything else you want to tag on to this? I think we covered it.
Anything else you want to tag on to? No, but you know what? I am looking forward to in not this week, but next week when we have Right Cymbal, Your Voice, the Right Choice, which is we interview Mark Love in the vault, and he walks around and takes people's questions on cymbals that they have right now and what would match up with it. We're going to be talking about the Element and also hammers next week.
Beautiful.
And that's that we highlight in the beginning so that we can get people in their juices flowing and they can start asking questions. So I'm looking forward to that, and I think you should too.
Yeah, I'll be watching. I have a vested interest.
What's interesting is that on every single one of these, Hammer's been calling in and asking questions. So it's kind of cool to see him on the little byline moving along as it goes up.
Yeah, he's actually participating in social media these days, which is fun.
His wife got on him, and he's gotten good at it.
He's gotten good at it. The getting good at it, I wasn't concerned about. He's great at so many things. But, all right, man. Well, keep the faith. Let's get you back again sometime when we're live, actually live, and we can have some questions from listeners.
Absolutely.
All right, brother. Keep the faith up there and stay warm. Well, it's going to be warming up anyway. Maybe that'll help the virus.
Hey, thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. And hey, good job keeping everybody informed and connected.
Trying my best. Give my best to everybody at Sabian.
I will. Thanks.
All right, brother. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, there he was, Andy Zildjian, and we're getting some great comments. Hamilton says, smearing my reputation, eh? Talking about Ebertones, all is forgiven. Hey, Jeff, glad you're watching. Let's get this off. I'm not Andy. He's that other guy. All right, a few things. They call them calls to action, CTC2A. One of them is, everybody, hey, man, we were asking for money before it was cool. Patreon, you know what Patreon is. If you want to pledge a little something, go right there and, sign up for $1 a month, $2 a month, something that ain't going to hurt you. All right? And who's this guy?
Hi, I'm Mike Clark, and I watch Drummer Nation.
One of the greats, Mike Clark. He's been a guest on the show. Speaking of guests on the show, I have a few more. First of all, I've been getting a lot of comments. I did a show with the great Brazilian drummer, Duduca da Fonseca, and it was so cool. We went into part one, part two. Part one's up, and the comments I keep getting from everyone are, wow, I've learned so much about Brazilian music. So part two continues where we left off. I should have that up by the weekend. That's the Drummer Nation show. This is the live show. So it's everywhere podcasts are seen. Coming up soon, I have Todd Zuckerman to talk to tomorrow. It'll be a pre-record for later on, but he's got a new album out as a vocalist, and the guy's got pipes, so, who knew? But I'm really excited about going through that CD tonight, and tracking everything and talking to him about, what I dig, and I'm sure I've heard parts of it. It's just great. So be on the lookout for that. Matt Brennan wrote a book, Social History of the Drum Set. That interview's in the can. That'll be coming up. Pretty cool about the history of drumming. And then a couple of somber people that are always so depressing, I thought would do my show because I like them. It's Greg Potter and Kathy Rich, and whenever you see them, they're just so somber. If you know them, you know I'm kidding. They're the two of them are a riot together, and so they've agreed to do the show. We're going to record that in the next few days. So have a look out for all of that. Okay, that being the case, I think I'm ready to call it quits. Watch for those shows. Check out Patreon if you can. Keep up with us, email, all that stuff, and hit the share button, hit the like button, hit the follow button, wherever you're watching, in live or post or wherever. Please stay with the program because we sure do dig it. All right, talk to you soon, everybody. Take care.